We're always told you need a perfect plan before you can start anything that really matters. But what if that's the very thing that's holding you back? Today, we're going to dig into a mental model that flips that whole idea on its head. It shows that clarity isn't something you wait for, it's something you build by actually doing stuff. So, does this sound familiar? You've got a big idea, maybe a new project or a career move you're thinking about, but you're just stuck. You're researching, planning, just waiting for that perfect moment of certainty before you take the leap. Hey, you're not alone. This analysis paralysis thing, it's super common. And that's the real trap, isn't it? This approach, it feels so responsible, so mature, but there's this hidden massive cost to all that waiting. Like the quote says, this way of thinking can literally cost you years. Years of time and all the learning and growth you could have gotten in that time.
All right, let's dive into what we can call the clarity trap. This is that deep-seated belief that we have to have everything figured out before we're allowed to make our first move.
Yeah, the conventional wisdom basically tells us to study the map, gather all the intel, talk to every expert you can find, and only when the fog completely lifts, then and only then do you act. It treats action like it's the final step of some long theoretical exam. So in the real world, what does this look like? Well, it creates this endless cycle of preparation. We end up reading more books than we ship projects. We make these incredibly detailed plans for a journey we haven't even started. We're trying to optimize a path we've never even set foot on. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Wow, what a powerful way to put it. When we think we need to perfect clarity, we put this insane amount of pressure on every single choice. We see them all as permanent, irreversible marks. And that fear, that absolute terror of getting it wrong, is exactly what keeps us frozen right where we are. So what breaks this cycle? Well, for the person who wrote this, and for a lot of us, it's a painful but really important realization that our super careful strategy might be the very thing holding us back. And this is that moment where the old belief starts to crack. You look around and you see other people, maybe folks you think are way less prepared than you are, and they're just doing things. They're moving, they're learning, and somehow they're actually getting ahead. It's not because they're smarter, it's because they're in the game while you're still on the sidelines. This really lays it all out, side by side. On one side, you've got the passive strategy. Wait for clarity, try to avoid every possible mistake. And on the other, you've got the active strategy. Create clarity by doing, rack up experience, and sharpen your judgment with every single step. One is just theory, the other is an engine for real growth. Okay, so if acting is the key, how does it actually work? This brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer, the idea that experience, a lot like money, actually compounds over time. This right here, this is the fundamental shift in thinking you have to make. You don't think your way to clarity, you act your way to it. It totally flips the old model upside down. Action isn't the last step, it's the first step in a feedback loop that creates the very clarity you were waiting for in the first place.
Think about it just like compound interest, right? Your first couple of actions, they might not seem like much. They probably feel a little clumsy, a little uncertain, but each one teaches you something. It refines your instincts, and that makes your next decision just a little bit better. And the one after that, a little bit easier. That's momentum. That's experience compounding.
And in the beginning, this growth in your judgment can feel so slow you barely notice it. But as you keep taking action, those little gains start to stack up, and pretty soon your learning just accelerates. Decisions that used to take you weeks of agonizing can now take minutes, all because you've built this rich library of real-world experiences to pull from. So this completely redefines what we're even aiming for. We have to let go of this need for absolute 100% certainty. Real clarity isn't about knowing the entire path from start to finish. It's just having enough confidence, enough information to take the next logical step. And a huge part of gaining that confidence is changing our relationship with mistakes. A failed project isn't a detour, it's high-quality data. It tells you exactly where your assumptions were wrong. See, doing nothing gives you zero data, but action, even imperfect action, gives you invaluable feedback.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually put it into practice? I mean, how do you get over that fear and decide when it's time to act? Well, that brings us to a really simple, practical tool you can use. Instead of getting lost in some endless list of pros and cons for every little choice,
you can cut right through the noise by asking one single, powerful, simplifying question.
And here it is. Is this decision reversible? If the answer is yes, meaning you can undo it or change course without some catastrophic result, then your default should be speed. Decide fast, act, and get that valuable data. Now, if the answer is no, then and only then do you slow down, think it through, and get some advice.
And here's the surprising part. Our brains have this tendency to treat almost every decision like it's a permanent tattoo. We stress about choosing a new piece of software with the same gravity. But the reality is, most business strategies, most career experiments, most creative projects, they're reversible. You can pivot, you can adjust, or you can just start over.
So let's bring this all home by reframing what the real risk is here. We've been taught our whole lives that the biggest risk is making the wrong choice. But what if the biggest risk is not choosing at all?
This is the ultimate takeaway right here. The time you spend sitting in the harbor trying to predict the weather perfectly is time you're not spending learning how to actually sail the boat. The true cost of not acting is the compounded experience you give up every single day. When it comes right down to it, clarity and good judgment are basically a function of volume. They're the sum total of all the things you've tried, all the projects you've shipped, all the conversations you've had, and all the experiments you've run. Some of them will work out, a lot of them won't, but every single one of them teaches you something. And that brings us to the final question. And this one's for you. Forget the big 5-year plan for just a second. What is one small, reversible step you can take right now to move forward on something that really matters to you? Because clarity isn't waiting for you at the end of some perfect plan. It's waiting for you on the other side of that very next step.